Jason Robertson, reportedly available in Dallas. I'll tell you why I believe he is the perfect trade idea for the Buffalo Sabres. Coming up here on the Locked On Sabres podcast.
You're Locked On Sabres, your daily podcast on the Buffalo Sabres. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody, and welcome into this Tuesday edition of the Locked On Sabres podcast. Thanks, everybody, for taking some time out of your day to make us your first listen as we continue to roll through the offseason. You can check us out wherever you get your podcast. It does include watching us along on YouTube. If you do that, be sure to like and subscribe. And if you would like to get involved with the show, we have some good banter back and forth in the Locked On Sabres text club. If you want to sign up for that and you're not already a member, join subtext.com/Locked On Sabres is the place to do that. Sneaky Joe DiBiase here on a beautiful Tuesday here in Buffalo. We finally hit some summer weather here with temps finally getting into the 80s. It no longer feels like hockey weather anymore as the Stanley Cup Final gets rolling tomorrow between Florida and Edmonton. Does that mean Florida's going to win? Because the weather got good here and the weather got nice, more Fort Lauderdale weather than Edmonton weather. More on the finals, of course, later in the week. But we've got a very exciting topic to get to on today's show. Thankful for Rick DeWally, Sportsnet up in Vancouver, giving us something super juicy to talk about here. A player that I love, an idea that I love, but an idea that is so good that the Sabres are going to have a ton of competition for Jason Robertson. Jason Robertson, the subject of today's show. So we're going to get into it. Why he might be available, how good of a player is this, and what the price would likely have to be, assuming that you're out having to outbid a million other teams for this player. So we'll get right into it on Jason Robertson of the Dallas Stars, 25 years old, an elite player, if you ask me. But before we get to how good Robertson really is, why are we discussing him here today on this Tuesday? And the reason is that Rick DeWally up in Sportsnet Vancouver said that he has heard that Jason Robertson's name is out there in trade discussions. So, and he's a very plugged-in insider for Sportsnet. Very rarely do I see him get, things that are, not correct at all or completely disputed. So Robertson's name is out there enough that it's worth talking about. And it's not really that stunning that his name is available. It is in the sense of he's an elite player, but Dallas, they're going through it right now. The Dallas Stars have got some big decisions to make. And, not everybody acts like Buffalo here, where Kevin Adams going into year 6 as a general manager. It's a different sport, but the New York Knicks fired their coach today after making the conference finals for the first time in 25 years. The Maple Leafs just fired their president of hockey operations and have made coaching changes, and maybe Mitch Marner walks out the door because they keep making the playoffs, but they keep hitting their head in the ceiling. Different teams act more aggressive once you get to the playoffs. Dallas have lost in the conference finals 3 consecutive years. So it isn't surprising that something major is going to happen. I think a lot of the talk in recent days has been more about Pete DeBoer and Jake Oettinger, because the coach and the goaltender ended the season on a very poor note. DeBoer pulls Oettinger in a pretty weird way, where Oettinger is heading back to the net and his coach is screaming at him after a timeout to get back, you're out. Doesn't talk to him, walks right by him without making eye contact going into the second period of that game. And then Jake Oettinger, I think this was either today or yesterday, is doing his locker room cleanout interview in Dallas and says he still hasn't talked to his coach since he got pulled the other night. That's wild. I can't imagine that those two are going to continue. Ottinger's under contract till 2033, and maybe we'll talk about him as a trade idea at some point in the next couple of weeks because he's a great player. DeBoer, though, I think he might just get fired. So we'll see. But we're not really talking today about those two because we have a Robertson rumor. And here's why Robertson is available. That key point that I just set up, that they've lost in the conference finals 3 years in a row, a shakeup to the core. Sometimes when teams have the same result year after year after year, even if it's a conference finals result, they're going to look for the big shakeup. They're going to look for the player that has let them down in the big moment, no matter how good they might be. If you weren't that good, if you didn't hold up that standard in the playoffs, deep in the playoffs, that player is going to be a lightning rod for criticism, and there are going to be organizations that act on that. Dallas appears to be one. Maybe headed for, this guy didn't perform in the postseason this go round, so he's the guy who's going to fall on the sword for this failure. Now, before I give you Robertson's stats for this previous playoffs, he's been excellent. He hasn't scored as many goals as he does in the regular season. 7 goals in 19 games in 23, 6 goals in 19 games in 24. Okay? He also dealt with some injury this year, but those past 2 years before that, 11 assists, 10 assists, so 18 points in 19 games and 16 points in 19 games. So it is a drop from what he was in those regular seasons. He had 109 points in 22-23, had 80 points in 82 games in 23-24. So it was a little bit of a drop. This year, more so. For a team that went to the conference finals, he's an important player. He had 6 points, 4 goals, and 2 assists. Now, he missed some games, only played 11. Actually, that might not be. No, that has to be right because they played more than 11 games. So he missed some time, maybe dealing with some injuries, bumps and bruises, but didn't perform in the big moment. That's not the number one reason. Might be a reason. The number one reason is Dallas is up against the cap. And they've got to make some decisions coming up because after paying Mikko Rantanen a monster contract, which they were right to do, that player is unbelievable, $12 million a year until 2033. After signing that deal, Dallas now walks into next season where the cap's probably going to be up at $95 million. Already at $90.5 million committed on their books. That you might say, well, $5 million in space. They've got to sign Robertson after this year, $7.75 million. He's eligible to sign this summer. He'll be an RFA after that. He could get to unrestricted free agency the year after. So they have 2 more years of rights, 1 more year of contract. He's going to get the payday very soon. They've got money tied up. The $90.5 million figure that I just read you is with only 8 forwards under contract. 6 defensemen, so maybe 1 more defenseman, but they're probably good on that end. And then they're 2 goaltenders. But 8 forwards. Just to fill a lineup, they've got to add 4 more. And then you usually get an extra or 2. So that gets you to 6, probably. That's 7 players that they probably have to sign with $5 million to spare. And that's with Jason Robertson right now at $7.7 million. The next contract he signs is going to be north of 10, or at least 10, I would imagine. He's that good of a player. Dallas just might not be able to afford this player. So that's another big reason why he needs a payday and just was the guy that maybe let them down a little bit statistically in this postseason run. So that is why he is available. How good is Jason Robertson? If you don't watch a lot of Dallas Stars hockey or you don't look at the numbers a lot on Robertson, you are in for a treat because this player might be a lot better than you think he is. Not a perfect player. I'll tell you what's not perfect about him, but why he is so valuable when we come back here in the Locked On Sabres podcast. Today's episode of the Locked On Sabres podcast is presented by Wonderful Pistachios. If you are looking for a snack that is both delicious and nutritious, crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios, one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein that gives you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats that will keep you feeling fuller longer. My go-to snack on the golf course. Just had some a couple of hours ago, threw them in my bag, got a little hungry after 9 holes and get a handful of pistachios. May or might not have led to my really successful back 9. I don't want to give them all the credit, but certainly helped. I love the no shells variety. That's what I eat. Just grab a handful. It's a lot easier. But if you like the in shell variety, like that crack the sound of it or the feeling of it. That's available to you as well. So get snackin', get crackin' with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com today to learn more. Sneaky Joe DiBiase back here on the Locked On Sabres podcast. We here on a Tuesday, ahead of the final. I don't know about trades in the final. I think typically a lot of these big deals will wait until after the final is done. So we got a little bit of time here, I'm sure, until we get any major moves in the NHL, including something that the Sabres might do. There was a report today from Frank Saravelli, who's been on the Peterka stuff, that Sabres are open to anything, and Kevin Adams has been calling around to GMs, making sure they know he wants to do something big this summer. Well, Jason Robertson would definitely satisfy something big. This player, if you do not watch him on a regular basis, is one of the best goal scorers in the National Hockey League. He is one of the best two-way players in the National Hockey League. He gives you an impact at all ends of the ice. Robertson, in his last 4 years, has the 14th most goals in the National Hockey League with 151. That is an average of 37 goals per year in that 4-year span. Right behind Kyle Connor, Nathan MacKinnon, Tage Thompson, and Kirill Kaprizov. Those are the players that are just ahead of him in the goal scoring category. 37 per year. Also, big point seasons, as I mentioned earlier. That 22-23 season where he actually finished 4th in Hart Trophy voting. No Sabres finished top 5 in Hart Trophy voting like that, or even close. The only players that were ahead of him that year, Connor McDavid, obviously, David Pastrnak, and Matthew Tkachuk. He finished ahead of Nathan MacKinnon that year, and his current teammate, Mikko Rantanen. He's received Selke votes in back-to-back. Well, this year, I guess maybe he didn't. I don't have that in front of me. But the previous 2 years, he did receive Selke votes. He has an all-star appearance. He is a player that when you watch him, it does feel like he could score from any spot on the ice. That he's a dangerous player in a way that similar to the way that Tage Thompson is. I don't think it's a terrible comparison, Tage and Robertson. I do believe that they are both players that are dangerous whenever they have the puck. There are a lot of differences. I think Tage is a better skater by a lot, or at least a faster skater. I think Robertson's a better two-way player. And I think that you're going to see, well, one, on the power play, they're guys that would play on opposite ends, which is why when I'm daydreaming about him being on the Buffalo Sabres, one element you want to see the Sabres get better at is power play, and you could have Tage on the left and Robertson on the right, both ready to fire their one-timers at any given moment, Tage being a righty, Robertson being a lefty. And power play production, I think there are bigger seasons for him. This year and last year, only 9 power play goals. He had 13 in each of the previous 2 years. It led the NHL in game-winning goals, by the way, that 109-point season. I think there's more there on the power play. And already you're getting some solid production, especially those 2 seasons where he had 13 each. Career high in goals, 46. This is a goal scorer. One-timers, slap shots, the wrist shot. He gets a lot of torque on his stick. I do see more of a playmaker in there as well. 63 assists being his career high in that 22-23 season. 45 assists this year, 51 assists last year. So you got some good numbers, some good production. When you watch him, what I think you see is a player that does very well to overcome what I think is his only limitation. I only see one limitation in this player. It's his skating. His skating is not there at all. If you go to he doesn't look the part skating-wise, and then the numbers back that up. You go over to NHL Edge. He had 23 speed bursts this season of over 20 miles per hour. The league average was 76.5. He was much less than half, almost roughly a third of the 20 mile per hour speed burst that an average player in the NHL has, let alone the faster guys in the league. So he does not reach top speed all that often, but it does not really impact his game. He is a dominant player at all ends of the ice. And 6'3", this is the one area where I tried doing some reading on this, and I really couldn't find anything one way or another about Robertson and physicality. He's big, but is he someone that throws his weight around? The best I could do for you is I could tell you the hit numbers, but that's always tough, right? Because different teams have different standards. Hit stats are so unreliable, but 60 hits on the year. The best you could do really for that is you could compare him to his teammates in Dallas. And for that, he did pretty well. He has 60 hits. That was 7th on the Dallas Stars. He plays a little more than some players, 18 minutes a night. It's not like he's out there 22, but I guess, not the most physical player in the world. I also don't think he's the least physical player in the world. That's one where I won't attest to knowing super well what he is in that category. But all these other categories, he hits the mark. Goals above replacement at Evolving Hockey, 97th percentile forward offensively, 94th percentile defensively, for a 98th percentile on the overall. This is an elite player. This is a player that I bet there are some dumb teams in the league that don't know how good he is. I don't know how many of those types of teams are left. There used to be a lot of them. There's still a few. But I think the smart teams will be desperate and will go all in for this guy. Because you could look at back-to-back years and say, well, how much do we really want to pay? Not that we don't want him, but do we want to go all in for a guy who's got 80 points in each of the last 2 years? He's a great player, but he's not a point per game player. He's not a 80 points in back-to-back years wouldn't tell you he's an elite player. It would just tell you he's a great player. He's a great player, first-line player, but not one of the greats of the sport right now. And I think a smart team would go, oh, I think he is. I think his impact is on that level. Dallas really didn't play him enough, if you think of it. I think he's a player that should absolutely be playing 20 minutes a night on a top line, all situations, at least power play. And Dallas is deep. Dallas is a great team. Probably doesn't need to play 22 minutes a night or 21 minutes a night, but I think he certainly could. So are the Sabres one of those smart teams that will get their hands on him? That's really the big question. Not that they won't talk about him or reach out, but how much will they be willing to spend? And we'll get to that next. But the summary here for me is this player at 25 years old is an elite player that I'm not sure everybody would give him that. It's even people that run NHL franchises. Doesn't have the hardware. One NHL All-Star appearance. I think there would be some reasons to look at him and go, yeah, I'm not sure I want to commit 3 insane pieces to get him on my team. There's enough teams, though, that I do think will want him and want him in a big, big way. Go watch Jason Robertson highlights if you haven't. This player is awesome. When we come back, how much will the Sabres have to give up? Given this is why we're willing, even able to have this conversation in a very thorough way. Given he has no trade protection. Anyone in the league can bid for this player. So you got to outbid 31 other teams. What will that take? We'll get to that coming back here on Locked On Sabres. Welcome back, Locked On Sabres. Sneaky Joe DiBiase here. Love talking about big trades. It's my favorite thing to talk about on this show. I know we don't really get them all the time. It's very exciting when we do. It's fun to daydream. Still hope one day that this team will be the type of team that will make these types of trades and make them all the time, every year. It's got to be great to be a Vegas fan, doesn't it? I mean, you'd be new to it, so, you can call them a bandwagon if you want, unless they're in Vegas, then I wouldn't do that. But that team, how fun must it be every time there's a star player available, not just to talk about getting that player, but almost expect to get him. They get so many, like Tomas Hertl and Noah Hannafin aren't elite players like Jason Robertson, but those were good players, great players that, yeah, they're just going to trade for him. Out of cap space, whatever. Eichel before that, of course, and there have been others. Mark Stone, of course, along the way. It's just Vegas is always in on it, and if you're a Vegas fan, you just would have a belief at all times that that's going to happen. Very different from when we have these conversations. But the thing about Robertson that I like for talking about the Sabres with him is we have proof that the Sabres love this player. Love, but interested at the very least. We did a show on this podcast 3 years ago, almost 3 years ago, September of 2022. We did a show talking about Jason Robertson to the Buffalo Sabres. The reason for that, and this is before he signed the current bridge deal he's on at $7.7 million, is there were trade rumors about him, and Andrew Peters, Craig Revay, who are always on top of it, they tweeted out on September 28th of 2022, we've heard the Buffalo Sabres have inquired about Jason Robertson from Dallas. So they heard 3 years ago, Sabres like this guy, or they're in on it. They called. They are talking to Dallas. Didn't end up happening. He signs in Dallas. 3 years go by. Here we are again. The fact that there was any sort of contesting, how much he should get, any sort of back and forth contract-wise between Dallas and Robertson, and it resulted in trade rumors 3 years ago, should maybe be even more evidence that they'd move off this player. Remember, O'Reilly in Colorado is a good example of this. Ryan O'Reilly in the Avalanche battled on contract stuff for years, and then it resulted in an offer sheet where Colorado matched it. But even after he was under contract, it's like, eventually this probably is going to end. They keep fighting about what he's worth and what he should get. And maybe that's a little bit of Robertson with the Stars, even though he's a great player. So we have proof right there. Sabres like this player. Well, they're not alone. And not that these are teams doing this, but I searched Jason Robertson on Google today, and I hit the news tab at the top. I was looking for Dallas articles about okay, why is this happening? And, a little bit more insight on the type of player he is, more than just what I've seen, because I'm not watching him every single night. And I couldn't even get to the Dallas articles, because this is what happens if you do it right now. Search Jason Robertson and go to news. All writings and articles in the last 1 day. Flyers can get their own star in Jason Robertson. New Jersey Devils should throw everything at Dallas Stars for Jason Robertson. Ducks Senators named in potential Jason Robertson Stars trade. Islanders dream trade target emerges. Must go all in for Jason Robertson. Report on Jason Robertson may provide the Leafs with the perfect chance to make a DNA change. Is that one? I thought I might have said something about Marner. Rangers should be in on Jason Robertson. It's never ending. Every team in the league, anyone that covers it, I'm last to this, Raby, right now. Everyone in the league talking about their team, writing about their team that's been eliminated. So basically anyone that's not Edmonton or Florida, because they're getting ready for other stuff. Anyone not Edmonton or Florida is talking about why their team should get this player. And as you just heard there's no one really making the case against it. Everyone wants this player. It's a great player. There's no reason to not want Jason Robertson. So I just want to set that up to say that's what a lot of GMs, I'm sure, are going to be doing too. Most GMs are going to go, why shouldn't I want this player? This player is amazing. They don't want to pay him $10 million. I'll pay him $10 million. Unless you got a couple of dumb teams, as I mentioned earlier, because that's the only reason I can see not being in on him. So with that being said, whoever gets him, if he is traded, the Stars can really cash in here. They should just keep him, but they could cash in. They can get somebody to overpay. You're going to have to overpay. There's too many bidders. This is not a guy with a 5-team, well, more than that, with a no movement clause that can tell his own team, I only want to go to these 5 teams. And then you have a bidding war between 5 teams. The price will only get so high. Remember, much lesser level player, I know. But last year, Vladimir Tarasenko was available at the trade deadline. And I think the story was he told the Senators, I only want to go to Florida, or was the other one Tampa? The other one might have been Tampa. And then Ottawa got nothing for him because why? They only had 2 bidders. Robertson, they're going to be 30, maybe. As many as 30. More realistically, you probably get 20 at least. So this is my setup for when you hear this deal, it's gonna hurt. It has to hurt. I just want to put it this way. The trade that it will take to get Jason Robertson is probably the trade you'll say no to. No, you'll go, oh, that's too much. The too much is what it would take. I just want to put it this way. I'm going to put JJ Peterka in these trade hypotheticals because he's a player that is super valuable, and I like this. I like the shakeup idea of that. It's trading a very good offensive one-dimensional player, a little smaller, in JJ Peterka for a better offensive player that's bigger and is way better defensively. That's a culture shift type of trade. So I'm going to put Peterka in all of these offers. Just want to alert you, you are not getting Jason Robertson for JJ Peterka and the number 9 pick. It's not happening. It's a good offer. In a vacuum, if Jason Robertson had told Dallas, there's only 5 teams I want to go to, and the Buffalo Sabres happen to be on that 5-team list, Peterka and 9 could get it done. That's not getting it done here. It's a good offer. It's not good enough. The offer that Jeremy White posed to me at WGR this morning was JJ Peterka and Zach Benson. I'm going to go a step further. I think someone beats JJ Peterka and Zach Benson. Somebody's going to value Robertson enough where that's a great offer. Peterka and number 9 is a good offer. Peterka and Benson is a great offer. You're probably in it. You're probably in it to the very end with that type of offer, because Peterka is an elite offensive player at 5-on-5 who is very bad in his own end and very bad defensively, but he's 23 years old. Maybe he'll get better at it. And Zach Benson is an elite defensive player that is got some work to do offensively, but he's 19, only going to get better at that. And well, Peterka, that would be a little interesting for Dallas because they could do a bridge deal with him. I guess you really do hit rewind a couple years. They could go like $6 million for Peterka, which is a lot cheaper than Robertson will be. Because if money's the problem for Dallas, Benson is going to be super valuable to them because he's going to be cheap for a while. Peterka will be cheaper. So there's that. Great. Let's say that doesn't even get it done. And I think that's realistic. That Peterka and Benson, you're one of the final offers, but you don't get the deal. You want to get it over the line? You want to ensure that you have the best offer? Offer 3 pieces. Offer Peterka, Benson, and the number 9 pick. That's an overpayment. I'll say it. That's almost certainly more than Jason Robertson should be worth. But in an open market like this, I guess really what a guy's worth is what somebody will pay for it. I'll tell you right now, this player is so good. I would do it. I would do Peterka, Benson, and number 9 because I think that's what it's going to take to get him. I think you've got to go over the top. You've got to be willing to get him to give up an offer that is going to hurt like hell. And that offer hurts. Peterka's fun to watch and is super valuable. Personally, it would suck to trade Zach Benson. I love watching that kid play hockey. He is one of my favorite Sabres to watch play hockey ever. Really. It's that good. I know he's not scoring like that, and hopefully he does someday. I love watching him play. I so badly want to see him play for the Sabres for years and develop into a star-level player. I want to see that. But if you told me I could get Jason Robertson, I want to make the playoffs, man. I want to make the playoffs, and this guy is you don't get opportunities to get players that are this good. Here's the one catch about an offer like that. You tell me, would you do it? I'll even take 9 out. Let's start with, would you do Benson and Peterka? I put that in our text club, and I got a lot of yeses and I got a lot of no's. It was very back and forth. One texter said, not Benson. I'd find another way to make it work. Zach is my boy. Peterka has been my boy, but if I have to let one go, it would be Peterka. I respect that opinion wholeheartedly. I think if you are Kevin Adams, though, this gentleman or lady that's texting, I don't believe you're not getting Robertson. I don't know what that other way is to get it, unless you're willing to throw like Owen Power into the offer, but Dallas doesn't want him because he's too expensive for what they need right now. One person just said, yes, all caps, and then like 5 exclamation points. Here's the other text, and this is the last point that I need to get to on Robertson as we kind of close the picture, the case study on this as an idea. Only if Robertson signs an extension, is what one texter wrote in. And as you heard me mention earlier, Robertson needs a contract. He has 1 year left, $7.75 million. Then he is an RFA. He'll be arbitration eligible if that matters to you. But he's an RFA in 2027, July of 27. No. Is that right? Yeah, sorry. 26. No, so 26. 26, he's an RFA. And then he can hit unrestricted free agency in 2027. So 26 RFA, 27 UFA if he wants to push for a 1 year deal with the club. Little dangerous. I would want to tell you that maybe this is where you could make a trade conditional. You do, if you're Kevin Adams, you go to Dallas and you say, well, I'm willing to throw in that third piece as a number 1 pick with Benson and Peterka, but I'm not giving you number 9. What I'm willing to do, though, is give you a first that is conditional on him signing an extension with the Buffalo Sabres. If you do that, I'm in. I'm in wholeheartedly. I'm almost in even if you don't get that condition. But that condition would be really nice because you don't know that he'll stay. But here's what I would tell you. This is maybe part of the value of having like a Jarmo Kekalainen in the building. What would Jarmo Kekalainen have done as the GM of the Columbus Blue Jackets? He would have said, bleep it. I don't care about him potentially leaving in 2 years. I'm going to trade for him, and I'll figure that out after. I'll try to convince him to stay. I'll try to maybe he'll grow to love it. Maybe the team will succeed, and he'll want to stick around and be a part of it. And guess what? If the team doesn't succeed after a year or a year and a half, you want to put it off to the trade deadline in 2027, and you want to make him available, then you are still going to get a good amount of assets. Now, if you trade him at the deadline in 2027, you're not getting the value of a JJ Peterka and a Zach Benson, but you're still going to get something of value. And if you want to push that back even more, if you want to play him a year and then he's giving you I'm only signing 1 year and then I'm walking, well, that's when let's trade him. And I would bet you would come you would come pretty close, if not totally, to getting the same level of value that you traded away to get him. So yes, there's risk, but I think it's overstated what the risk is. I think if you didn't have any guarantee that the Sabres had no guarantee that Robertson was going to stick around past the next 2 seasons, they should still make the trade. They should still make the trade, see if they can earn their way into a long-term extension with him. Or your downside is I got to move him sometime in the future when he's still going to be a super valuable piece, because I don't see him, tanking as a player, and I don't think that's going to hurt you. So I don't see the risk being as big as at least that one texter does. So that's my idea on Robertson, going Peterka, Benson, and a conditional first round pick. And if he signs, if he doesn't sign, maybe you give Dallas a second or something like that. And that offer, I believe, beats the other 30 teams. I don't think there's going to be a lot of teams, if any, that are going to even match that. So Jason Robertson. All right. Let me know what you think about him as an idea. And if you haven't, go just do yourself a favor, go watch the highlight reel. It's a great highlight reel. Really good goals. And if you can find like a shift to shift type of video too, super impressive on that front as well. If you're looking for some good talk on the Oilers and the Panthers, be sure to check out our sister show, Locked On NHL Game Night. They'll be covering it throughout the Stanley Cup Final. Every game, they're going to have it for you. So be sure to check it out. Find it, Locked On NHL, YouTube, wherever you listen to your podcasts as well. We'll jump back in on our exit interview series tomorrow. We'll continue rolling through the roster. Alex Tuck, we'll talk about an extension with him, among other things, coming up on our next show. So that'll do it for us. Thanks everybody for listening, and we'll talk to you tomorrow here on the Locked On Sabres podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.